The issues of the Northeast are not easy to resolve. There's plenty of advice given, but there are no quick fix solutions to development. The vision document for the Northeast says the region should be growing at 14% per annum to just catch up with the rest of the country. It has about 7% of the country's land area, but concentrated in that is about 25% of the total forest cover of India. This week in Northeast Interface, we speak to the Secretary, Government of India, Ministry of Development of Northeastern Region, Mr. U.K. Sangma, about development of the region.
Thanks very much, sir, for being with us. First, let's start with the very question of development itself. What does the development of such a vast, diverse region actually mean?
It's a very complex issue. Earlier, after independence, it was only one state, composite Assam. It has been broken up because of political reasons into 7, and then now Sikkim was added as part of the Northeast. All the 7 states are contiguous except for Sikkim. Physically it's removed because part of Bengal is between Sikkim and the Northeast. The issue of development in the Northeast is very diverse. People say that we have abundant natural resources, but those resources couldn't be harnessed. Connectivity issues are there, and we have a huge international boundary, and we are connected to the rest of the country by what they call chicken neck. So connectivity, physical connectivity as well as emotional connectivity with the rest of the country is an issue. I think that's the first point when we talk about development in the Northeast.
If you look at infrastructure, some people think that most of the infrastructure is being developed in Assam. So connectivity, everyone has to go through Guwahati to reach there.
Guwahati is the gateway, obviously, and in order to reach any of the northeastern states except for Sikkim, you have to cross Assam. That's an issue, and naturally, since the whole Northeast was Assam only earlier, and Assam's terrain is much more even, so there are good connectivities as far as roads and railways are concerned. Assam has got several airports, whereas Mizoram has an airport, Manipur has an airport, Nagaland has an airport, but Arunachal doesn't have an airport. Meghalaya has a very small airport. Sikkim do not have an airport, but a greenfield airport has been constructed. Yes, but Assam could also be a catalyst to the growth of other northeastern states.
Why I only think of air connectivity? I know obviously it's a difficult terrain, but ultimately in the long run one has to build roads, one has to try and build the other kind of land infrastructure.
Yes, railways are required for industrialization, and unfortunately Assam has got a good railway connectivity. Nagaland has a little 9 kilometers rail connectivity, which is Dimapur, and none of the states have any rail connectivity. Now Meghalaya is being connected, but that is also only 6 kilometers inside the Meghalaya in a place called Mandi Pathar. So to develop the Northeast is an issue, and huge investments will have to be made as far as connectivity is concerned.
The states of the Northeast are very dependent heavily on central funding. So when we talk about huge funds for investment in infrastructure, where is this going to come from, sir?
There is a document called the Vision Document 2020. So there they have made a lot of studies, and they had said that for the Northeast to catch up with the rest of the country, they have to grow at a rate of 14% per annum till the year 2020. Now, to achieve that blistering rate of growth of 14%, you need huge investments, and that investment, obviously, the government of India alone or the state governments cannot do, because we don't have funds. Even the Planning Commission have limited resources, so that investment will have to come from the private sector, and unfortunately there is no private sector worth the name in the Northeast except for the tea industry in Assam.
So, but to do that, some experts say that first we have to create institutions within the Northeast itself. They talk about the lack of institutional developments, institutions which will create a critical mass over time. People of the Northeast, they move out to get educated as well, and they seek most things from the mainland rather than from the Northeast itself. There are no institutions, they say.
Yes, there are no institutions, there are no infrastructures. The conditions are not very congenial for investments, as you yourself know. There is a lot of insurgent activities, there's a lot of illegal taxing. So those are impediments. So we have to address the issue of law and order. We have to create an investment-friendly environment. I'll give you an example of Sikkim. Sikkim has grown. In fact, the whole of the Northeast, on an average, have grown more than the national average during the 11th five-year plan. They had almost grown at a rate of 9%. But that is not enough. They have to grow at 14%. So to catch up with the rest of the country. Now, the catalyst of growth in other parts of the country, like in Gujarat and Mumbai, and the catalyst is
it's private investment.
Private investment. Government just creates the environment.
Right.
So that, I think, is the real crux of the issue.
Now, organizing fairs, for investment fairs,
we have been doing
right.
Every year, the FICCI, then the Kolkata-based Indian Chamber of Commerce. We have invested a lot of money on this kind of road shows and fairs, but on the ground, the conditions are not there.
But if we look at some industries that the Northeast that can be unique to the Northeast in terms of advantages, apart from agricultural based like horticulture and floriculture, etc. What about IT, information technology?
One industry which can flourish in spite of everything, I think, should be the tourism industry. There is a large English-speaking population, so for hospitality sector, that is a very good asset. And we had done, the ministry has done a study on the tourism master plan, to build a tourism master plan for the Northeast. And we had invested a private firm, Tata Consultancy Services, and they have done a good job. And the master plan has now been submitted to the Ministry of Tourism, and they are going to implement it. But we have even coined,
unexplored paradise, is it?
Yeah.
Some people put forth against that is we cannot have only one industry in the region. They take the example of Thailand and say that it leads to moral degradation. We don't want that to happen in the Northeast.
I think it's a matter of opinion. What is morality and what is not? I mean, I think development should come.
And investment will come through tourism.
Ecotourism, adventure tourism, and then Kamakya is there, religious tourism. So many things are there, but unfortunately, like the Bengalis and the Gujaratis are known to be very avid travelers. And you must have heard about the Incredible India. Most of the tourists who are attracted by the Incredible India goes to Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, and such places. So we have to sell in the Northeast in the international scene, because we need to attract tourists who pay in dollars and euros and yen.
So what can we draw on from the region, sir, in terms of the large international borders? Then there's connectivity with Myanmar.
Yes. There was a economic survey done just before independence in the whole country, and in fact it was very surprising that the Northeast at that time was growing at a faster rate than the rest of the country, because the international borders were open. Trade was flourishing, ideas were exchanged, people travel here and there, and people living in the border areas they were very successful. Right. But once we got independence, the 98% of the border areas become an international border. So everything was sealed, closed, and we were left behind. And now we will have to catch up. We are building a multimodal transport facility through Mizoram, connecting to the Sittwe port in Myanmar. And Government of India is investing through the Ministry of External Affairs.
And when will this project be ready, sir? Because because the problem is that this is a landlocked area, and that would be the first access to the sea.
Yes.
Otherwise, you'd have to go also to Chittagong.
That is the idea. The Calcutta port will be connected to Sitwe, and most of the heavy equipments. I'll give an example. In Tripura, we have this Palatana gas-based power plant. To reach the huge turbines to Tripura, it took almost a year, because that 16-wheel truck keeps on breaking down, and there are bunds and landslides and things like that, and so difficult to carry heavy equipment. But if that multimodal thing is done,
right,
probably access would be much more easier.
If the Northeast was growing faster before independence because of open borders, the same can be achieved even today with modern facilities. The development of infrastructure in the Northeast is crucial. The importance of access to the sea would clearly revitalize the landlocked region's economy.
Some people were saying that, the Look East policy was just looking over the Northeast because it's only helping the sea coast on our east.
That may be partially true, but then one can't really ignore the Northeast if you're looking east, because there are
cultural land routes, culturally.
Cultural affinities are there, and in fact, when Hinduism went to Bali from India, and later on Buddhism was exported from India, it was through the Northeast. It's not through the sea route. It was by land it went.
So that continues.
Yeah, and it has always been a gateway to the east from India.
In terms of its highly eco-sensitive zones, biodiversity, there's difficulty in investing in infrastructure.
Yeah, we'll have to optimize our investments. Like I said, tourism. Tourism can be eco-friendly. It can be sustainable. And then we have a huge potential for hydroelectricity.
But then there's the concern about that as well, because
I think it's basically politics.
Because there's flooding of both in the Barak as well as in the Brahmaputra.
That before you take a multi-crore project, those concerns are always addressed, and there are multiple layers of environmental clearances. The government of India has constituted what is known as EGOM. EGOM means Empowered Group of Ministers, to exclusively deal and clear environmental concerns of the Northeast as far as hydroelectricity is concerned.
You talked about law and order being a concern. There is the big issue of AFSPA.
I think to an extent the concerns are legitimate, but at the same time, I think the government of India feels that the time is not ripe yet to withdraw because of security concerns. And the issue is not only the Northeast as far as AFSPA is concerned, it's also Jammu and Kashmir, because the same law also prevails there.
We are also planning this road connectivity right down to Southeast Asia through Myanmar. How important is that?
That is called
the trilateral highway.
Trilateral highway. It's under construction. It's making huge progress, which is a good thing. In fact, we have so much cultural affinities. The Northeast people have so much cultural, even the rest of the country, with places like Thailand and Cambodia. In fact, you would recall the Thailand International Airport is called Swarna Bhumi,
right,
the golden land, which is Sanskrit. How come?